Welcome back to Awakened Stories. Now, after last week's intense dive into the whole illusion of control and how our minds just desperately try to grip the steering wheel of life, this week's story, well, it hits even closer to home. We're looking at a profound ancient parable that quite literally details how an entire empire's treasury was quietly destroyed in a single afternoon. It's an absolutely fascinating look at human desire. So let's jump right into the explainer.
Okay, I want you to imagine this for a second. You're standing there pouring infinite, priceless diamonds into this tiny, weathered wooden bowl. But the bowl doesn't fill up. The diamonds hit the bottom, and they just vanish. So you pour more, and they vanish again. It's completely absurd, right? No way that happens. It literally defies the laws of physics. But what if I told you that you're probably doing the exact same thing right now every single day, just with a different kind of currency? That's the core question we're tackling today. What happens when having absolutely everything still leaves you completely empty inside?
Part 1. The Emperor's Arrogance. Okay, let's dive into this.
So, our story today draws from these ancient Sufi and Zen teaching traditions. And as the story goes, an emperor is parading through his kingdom. He's powerful, he's incredibly rich, and he is completely blinded by his own massive ego. He spots a beggar sitting calmly by the side of the road. And, wanting to show off his immense power to his subjects, he stops, looks down at the beggar, and boldly declares, "I can grant you any wish. Just name it." The emperor is totally boasting here. He's absolutely certain that there's literally nothing in this world his vast wealth can't easily provide.
But the beggar? He just looks up, completely unbothered, holds out his small, battered wooden bowl and says, "Just fill this small wooden bowl." And the emperor laughs, like actually laughs out loud. To him, this seems like the easiest request in the world. He was fully expecting the beggar to ask for a grand palace, or a literal mountain of gold, or, I don't know, an army, but a little wooden bowl? The emperor just waves to his vizier thinking, this'll take 5 seconds and we can get back to parading.
Part 2. The Infinite Void. Let's see how this goes. Now, here is where the tone completely shifts from arrogant comedy to chaotic desperation, because as the actual pouring begins, the physics of this tiny bowl suddenly defy all logic. Step 1, the vizier pours in a handful of silver coins. They clink, hit the bottom, and instantly disappear. The bowl is completely empty. Step 2, the emperor, who's getting pretty visibly annoyed now, orders them to bring solid gold. They heave heavy gold bars into the bowl. Gone, just swallowed up by an infinite void. Step 3, well, now it's a matter of immense pride. The emperor is shouting, he's pacing around. They bring out the royal jewels, priceless diamonds, rubies, emeralds. They pour them in, and they vanish right into thin air.
And all of this happens in one single afternoon, because the emperor's ego is so incredibly fragile, he just cannot let a simple beggar defeat him in front of his people. He keeps ordering more and more of his wealth to be brought out, and in just one afternoon, solely to save face, he quietly and completely destroys an entire empire's treasury. I mean, it's honestly the funniest story about the human ego you'll ever hear, right up until the exact moment you realize what it actually means.
Part 3. The Hedonic Treadmound.
Okay. Let's hit pause on the ancient narrative right there, right at peak panic. Because this isn't just an old fairy tale about a magical wooden bowl. It's actually an incredibly accurate map of modern behavioral science. So we really have to ask the structural question here. Why won't the bowl fill? What are the actual mechanics behind why gaining everything, all the silver, the gold, the diamonds, results in zero net accumulation? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how modern psychology perfectly explains this ancient paradox. It's a concept called the hedonic treadmill, and this is basically the observed tendency of humans to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness, regardless of major positive events or newly acquired wealth. Think about it. You get a huge promotion, you buy a new car, you hit a massive life milestone, and your happiness just spikes. You feel incredible. But then, almost immediately, it drops right back down to where it started. You're running on a treadmill, burning all this energy, but fundamentally, you're staying in the exact same emotional place.
And we can draw a direct line from the emperor's vanished wealth to our modern psychological conditioning. The emperor was pouring physical gold into a void, right? Today, we pour modern validation, like, likes on a social media post, praise from a manager, checking off endless to-do lists, into the exact same void. We're constantly seeking that next hit of dopamine, fully expecting that this time, finally, the bowl will stay full.
Just think about our modern beggar's bowls.
Modern consumerism promises that the very next purchase is the one that'll finally make your life complete. Social media validation tricks you into thinking 1,000 likes will cure your sense of isolation. Endless productivity convinces you that if you just finish everything on your plate, you'll finally feel at peace. It's all part of the grand illusion of enough. We just keep pouring our precious time, our money, and our energy into an ego that simply cannot be filled by external things.
Part 4. The devastating realization. Which brings us right back to the climax of our story and the real teaching hidden inside it. Let's just slow down for a second and look at the aftermath of the emperor's frantic afternoon. I want you to just sit with this paradox for a moment. The entire wealth of an empire, gone. And the little wooden bowl, it remains completely unchanged. It isn't heavier, it isn't overflowing, it is exactly as empty as it was when the beggar first held it out. The emperor finally just collapses in total exhaustion and defeat. He looks up at the serene beggar and asks, "What is the secret of this bowl?"
And the crucial point here is the beggar's answer. He looks at the emperor and says, "There is no secret. It is simply made up of the human mind." Let that devastating realization really sink in. The bowl is the mind. The bowl is the ego. It perfectly represents the entirely insatiable nature of human desire. It literally doesn't matter how much you pour into it, because the ego is not a container you can fill. It's a void.
Part 5. Dropping the bowl. So this is the modern paradox we all face, completely laid bare. We gain everything, the degrees, the job titles, the cars, the followers, and we still feel completely empty inside. We turn the mirror on ourselves and realize we're just absolutely exhausted from pouring. Honestly, if I look at my own life, I know exactly what I pour into my bottomless bowl every single day. For me, it's the constant need for productivity. It's that feeling that if I just write one more script, finish one more project, then I'll be done and I can finally relax. But the finish line just keeps moving. For others, it might be praise or status or the illusion of control we talked about last time. We have to become aware of the mechanics of this game to actually stop playing it. We aren't trying to magically stop having desires, we just need to recognize the bowl for what it truly is.
So, what are you trying to fill your bowl with today? What is that one thing you're desperately pouring into a void, hoping it will finally make you feel whole? Identify it. Notice the mechanics of it, and then drop the bowl. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and we'll see you next time.